Kristen, thank you. This morning, an Albuquerque man says a pair of thieves took off with one important tool that he uses every day to make a living. And now he's hoping the surveillance video will help police capture these criminals. Here's what happened. It all unfolded about 1 a.m. Monday in the foothills. You can see a truck here pull up in front of a man's home. Two men wearing bandanas over their faces head right for the homeowner's trailer hitch. They break the lock, lift the heavy trailer onto their getaway truck, and drive off. Jorge Gonzalez says that trailer is his means of hauling equipment for his construction company.
This is my tool, my principal tool for work.
It makes me feel terrible because my dad works really hard every day. He comes home sometimes just really late, but he does it for us, and he's just a really nice person, and I hate that they would do something like this.
Police say thieves like this tend to also target traveling balloonists hauling gear on trailers. APD will have bait cars and extra patrols in the coming weeks. Also happening now, an APD officer caught on video kneeing a UNM law student in the groin has until Friday to turn himself in.
He has been advised of the maximum penalties on each offense, and we have a plea of not guilty.
10 days ago, a judge ruled there is enough evidence to try Pablo Padilla for this DWI stop last year. He was caught on video kneeing law student Jeremy Martin in the groin. Martin lost a testicle. Padilla is charged with aggravated battery now and tampering with evidence, accused of deleting a witness's cell phone video of the arrest. Padilla pleaded not guilty. The judge told him yesterday that he has until Friday to turn himself in at the jail, where he'll be booked and then released. He's been suspended with pay while APD moves to fire him. Jeremy Martin has filed a lawsuit against APD for that arrest. Developing this morning, the Albuquerque Police Department is getting some federal funds for its body cams. APD is just one of 73 local and tribal agencies getting part of $23.2 million in DOJ funding. APD's share will be $250,000. The DOJ has ordered APD to crack down on officers who don't turn on their camera. This morning, Albuquerque police are investigating a deadly crash involving a pedestrian. This happened about 8 yesterday evening near Coors and Sequoia Northwest. The pedestrian died on scene and has not been identified. No word on if the drivers will be cited. APD is also investigating a stabbing that happened on Sunday night. This near Wyoming and Copper in northeast Albuquerque. One person was taken to the hospital with a number of stab wounds and is in critical condition. Another person was arrested. No word on what led to that stabbing. New this morning, police are still waiting on blood test results to see if a speeding wrong-way driver had been drinking before a deadly crash. Police say 22-year-old Angel Romero may have been going 100 miles per hour northbound in the southbound lanes of I-25 early Sunday morning. They say he slammed head-on into Nicolette Baca's car near the Comanche exit. Both were killed. Baca's friends tell us she was heading home sober after hanging out with friends. We pulled Romero's driving record and found 5 different speeding tickets in 2014 alone. We're learning more here at 6:05 about a double shooting in the East Mountains. According to investigators, it was intended to be a double suicide. A 29-year-old woman called for help Thursday near Tijeras, saying that she and a man had been shot. When deputies arrived, the man was dead and the woman was airlifted to UNM Hospital. She is expected to survive. Deputies say the pair went to the remote area to commit suicide together. Detectives later found 2 handmade explosives at the man's home. This morning, an Alabama man is in jail after opening fire on a church Sunday. And for the first time, we're hearing from the heroic pastor who helped to capture the shooter moments after opening fire on a woman and her baby.
All I had time to do is, he's going to kill her if I stand here. He's going to kill her right here. The thought that went through my mind is, you're not going to do this on my watch. I forgot about my...
The pastor, along with other churchgoers, were able to wrestle 26-year-old James Minter to the ground. The woman was shot in the shoulder and jaw, but was released from the hospital. Her 1-month-old son lost 3 to 4 fingers. Minter is charged with attempted murder. New this morning, California man sentenced to 18 years in prison for running a so-called revenge porn website will get a split sentence. That means after 8 years, Kevin Bullard will be released and monitored in the community. The 29-year-old was convicted in February of 27 felony counts after he blackmailed victims through his website, forcing them to pay hundreds of dollars to have their nude or intimate photos removed. Happening now, Volkswagen's stock, it's plunged about 20% of its value on the heels of an exhaust scandal. The world's biggest auto company in sales is dealing with the fallout of an emissions testing scandal in the U.S. The Environmental Protection Agency is accusing VW of rigging emissions tests for about 500,000 diesel cars. Volkswagen's chief executive said he's deeply sorry for what happened and he's ordered an investigation. New on this Tuesday morning, a naval pilot's lucky to be alive after his jet crashed in a California field yesterday. An F-18 Super Hornet crashed to the ground just before 4 yesterday. The pilot of a single-seat aircraft was able to successfully eject himself out of the jet before it slammed into an empty field. Fire crews responded to the scene, extinguishing the flames. Officials say the pilot's in good condition. Authorities are now investigating the cause of that crash. New video this morning shows a protester in Canada accidentally setting himself on fire. I know it's hard to watch here. It happened on Sunday while a group was celebrating a deal made with the government, but there were some people who were upset over it. They began to set things on fire. Other members tried to put out the fire, but that's when witnesses say the 61-year-old man here tried to reignite the flames by pouring gasoline on it. He ended up catching himself on fire. He was taken to a burn unit to be treated for second-degree burns. Police say his injuries are serious, but they're not life-threatening. Wow. First, this morning, some overnight news. Albuquerque police are investigating a shooting this hour. Police say they were called to a home near Wyoming and Trumbull around 2:30 a.m. They say they found one woman shot in the leg. She was taken to the hospital. Police say she's telling them she doesn't remember what happened, so they're still trying to find the crime scene and the person who shot her. No word on the woman's condition this morning. We will keep you posted, though, here on air and also on the KRQE News app as soon as more details come in. Now let's turn to a live look in northwest Albuquerque, and there is some heavy police activity there to begin the day. Video just into our newsroom now shows police speaking with several people who live in the area. This is in a neighborhood near 2nd and Montano. It's unclear at this point what may have happened, but some people that we spoke with say it may have been a shooting. We placed a call to APD. They have not returned our request for information at this time. That area, as you can imagine, is blocked off. You saw it there in the live look. It is a residential area, so it's not going to affect many drivers this morning, but we're continuing to monitor it. We'll bring you updates throughout the day and on the KRQE News app. On to this. You pay a tax on almost everything you buy, but do you ever look to see if a company is charging the correct tax? Probably not, right? Debbie Cade, though, did when she caught Subway charging 8.75% tax. And the tax in Bosque Farms, where the sandwich shop is, should be 8.18%. It's only pennies, but every customer's been overcharged since at least January when Cade first complained to the employees about the tax. She's been back, trying to tell the owner 3 other times.
You think about a couple of pennies, 100 people a day at 20 pennies, it adds up very, very quickly.
Taxation and Revenue looked into the problem. The Subway owner admitted the mistake to News 13, and it's since been fixed. But Subway isn't the only store charging too much tax. You can go online to KRQE.com or the KRQE News app for the entire special assignment report and to see the tax rates in your community. Time is 6:34, and developing this morning, Albuquerque's mayor says he plans to veto a marijuana measure just passed by the city council last night. Just hours ago, the council narrowly approved a bill that would make possession of less than an ounce of pot for personal use a civil offense with a $25 ticket. It passed on party lines with 5 Democrats in favor, 4 Republicans against. Mayor Berry vetoed a similar measure last year, saying it goes against state and federal law. A resolution to publicly state that going after simple marijuana possession should be the city's lowest law enforcement priority because it costs too much and wastes time also passed 5-4. Albuquerque police say rescue groups and charities are offering now to take in a retired APD canine involved in the James Boyd shooting. Officer Scott Weimerskirch, who worked with the dog named Rex, has also retired. He recently testified in the hearing for Officer Dominique Perez and retired Detective Keith Sandy. The officers are facing murder charges. Weimerskirch testified that he planned for officers to use less lethal force to arrest Boyd in the foothills last year, but his canine Rex went for Boyd's backpack and Sandy and Perez fired. APD first said it was likely that 9-year-old Rex would have to be put down because he would be difficult to adopt out.
They serve a very specific duty and a very specific job, and sometimes it depends on the personality of the animal, what we're able to do with them once they do retire.
Police say Weimerskirch can't keep the dog because he has a small child at home. The department is still deciding what will happen to Rex. We'll keep you posted. This morning, we're just a few hours away from Pope Francis's visit to the United States. The pontiff will make 3 stops on his 6-day trip. He'll be starting in Washington, D.C. later today, and KRQE's national correspondent Mark Meredith is live on Capitol Hill with a preview of what we can expect in this historic week. Mark, busy day there.
Busy day, absolutely, but also an exciting day, Adam, because we're expecting to see a lot of people coming out necessarily for today, tomorrow, and Thursday's events here in Washington. The Pope's set to touch down at Andrews Joint Air Force Base about 4 o'clock this afternoon Eastern. President Obama, as well as the First Lady, will be heading out to Andrews to greet the Pope personally, and then the welcoming ceremony at the White House, that's set for first thing tomorrow morning. As we've seen, as the Pope wraps up his trip to Cuba over the weekend, he certainly wanted to be out there and be seen amongst the people, amongst the Catholics, and anyone else who wanted to come out and see him up close and personal. When you have a Pope that is this much as part of the group wants to get out, this is where close the people are, security does become a concern, and that certainly is something that local, state, and federal officials have been monitoring here in Washington. We expect to see heavy security, the same amount that we'd see, say, during a presidential inauguration, especially on Thursday as the motorcade makes its way to the joint session of Congress. First time we've ever seen a Pope do something like this. Now, it's not all about the pomp and circumstance. It's also about substance. Francis is not ever shying away from speaking out on what he thinks the Vatican as well as other world leaders can do to make the world a better place. There's no shortage of issues he's expected to touch on once he arrives here a little bit later this afternoon. Adam?
Mark, we know that Francis is going to meet with leaders in Washington and at the White House, but as we saw there in Cuba in that video you showed us, is there going to be a chance for the public in the U.S. to meet with him personally? What are some of the events he has planned to greet folks personally?
There are a few. He's going to be hosting several different masses across, whether he's in New York, Philadelphia, or here in D.C. Also because he realizes not everyone can get tickets to events. His organizers, they've made sure to line the motorcade route. People could have to get there early, though. We're talking about 4 a.m., 6 or 7 hours in advance, just to the chance to get a glimpse of the Pope. Also, after that address on Thursday, he's expected to step out on the west steps of the Capitol, and that way he could wave to people there on the National Mall. No guarantees, of course, because of security, but after what we've seen with Francis on the trip to Cuba as well as other trips, he's expected to make himself, well, as widely available as possible.
Yeah, he sure does things differently occasionally. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate it. Mark Meredith, KRQE national correspondent, live in Washington. 6:38, developing now. The Council on American Islamic Relations is demanding an apology from Ben Carson and calling for him to drop out of the presidential race. It comes after this comment on Meet the Press this Sunday.
I would not advocate that we put a Muslim in charge of this nation. I absolutely would not agree with that.
Backlash has been coming in ever since, with 2 Muslim members of Congress slamming Carson and Hillary Clinton chiming in on Twitter. Meanwhile, Carly Fiorina, a Republican presidential candidate, is on the rise in second place with 15% after a standout debate performance during the second primetime debate, while Scott Walker has dropped out of the race after a poor debate performance and plummeting poll numbers. He encouraged other candidates to do the same so that the party could focus on a limited number of candidates. Lawyers for gay couples in Kentucky are questioning the validity of their marriage licenses issued by Kim Davis. She's the clerk who spent 5 days in jail after refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. The lawyers are expected to file more motions in federal court today. They say she's altered the license forms to say they were issued under the authority of the federal court instead of her office, and they want a judge to have her reissue them or hand the office over to somebody who will. Davis's lawyer says the licenses are valid and claims the ACLU is trying to punish Davis for her beliefs. New this morning, authorities in Hong Kong say they've seized about 22 pounds of suspected rhinoceros horns. They're worth about $260 million. Officials say 2 men and a woman coming from South Africa were arrested at Hong Kong International Airport today. Officers found the rhino horns cut up and stuffed inside their carry-ons. The total's about 3 whole rhino horns, and the trio faces a fine of up to $130,000 and up to a year in jail. Some think that rhino horns have valuable medicinal qualities.